Miller. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Basking Ridge, New Jersey, and I go live every Wednesday to share with you some things that I'm working on or Stampin' Up! News or whatever is on my desk. So today we're going to make a card using the gorgeous Charming Day bundle. And this card was going to be used in my Stamp Stack classes this month, but unfortunately, I had to cancel them because I have COVID. Can you believe it? After all this time, I was traveling last week. I went to Alaska, had a fabulous trip, and last night, a day and a half after coming home, all of a sudden, kaboom! I was hit with COVID, and I had heard that that was happening and decided to test and learned that that was indeed the case. So I'm still here today. It's fortunately you can't catch any germs through uh, the through videos. So we're going to go ahead and make the card today, and maybe you'll see this in an upcoming class. So let's go ahead and head over to my desktop and take a look at the bundle. This is the Charming Day bundle, and you can see that it has this gorgeous flower. It has some nice sentiments with a very pretty font, something we don't normally uh, see. I haven't seen this font, at least not in a long time, and also some very, normal straight fonts. And it also comes with these gorgeous dies that coordinate with the different pieces. So let me show you the card. So this card, what I found done in different colors that someone else had made, and I decided to go ahead and use the Smoky Slate, and because I like the way that Smoky Slate and the petal pink go together, and it's just a very subtle touch, and it's definitely the tone on tone. I just thought that this would make for a really pretty card. Plus, we get to use these fun gems. So let's go ahead and take our Smoky Slate cardstock, and I've cut it to 8.5 by 5.5 as normal, and I'm just going to fold it in half like usual to a typical card base. Then I'm going to take my basic white cardstock and put it on the inside of the card, quick and easy. Just because even though Smoky Slate is kind of a light color, I think it does benefit from having a white insert, just so that your writing will stand out. So that's on the inside of the card. Now we're going to go tone on tone, and we're going to use the Smoky Slate, and I'm going to stamp first because, as you know, our cardstock is double-sided, and if I make a mistake stamping, I can turn this over without having to waste an entire sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp first rather than get it onto the card, do my stamping, and then find later that I made a mistake. So I'm going to use the Thanks for Being You, and I've got it on my block. This is a red rubber stamp, and these will be going away. Stampin' Up! Has decided to get rid of the red rubber to go all photopolymer, and I'm looking forward to that because when I'm using especially words, I find it hard to get it lined up just right, especially because now I'm spoiled because I use the photopolymer, the ones that are see-through all the time. So let's hope that we get this straight. Thanks for being you. See, and I don't like that. So it didn't seem like I got enough ink on there. So I'm going to do this again, and it could be because I was talking and I picked it up, and I'm using the Memento Black ink. Okay, and then I'm going to try it again, and we're going to go for it, whatever it is. However this comes out, this is going to be it. All right, so I'm pressing it a little bit harder, not rocking it too much because I don't want to catch any edges. We won't have to worry about that anymore when we go to photopolymer. So I'm very happy about that. But I'm good. I like the way that that came out. All right, so let's move on to our die cuts. So what I did was I took this die, these little petals, okay, and I took some Smoky Slate cardstock, and I cut out two of them. And you can see that I used, it's about 4 by 3.5 inches from this piece of Smoky Slate cardstock. And I'm going to go ahead and add them to the card so that it will show up beyond the focal point that I'm going to be using and give that subtle texture to the background. And because this is a little bit fragile, I'm going to go ahead and use my wet glue for this. And I'm going to use very teeny dots of adhesive. I'll pick it up for you as I have been doing. I do find that this works nicely. And again, as always, you can always maneuver it a little bit when you've got just that little bit of adhesive. See, just little dots. So I'm going to put the first one, I guess, over here, and I'm going to hold it for a few seconds. Someone once told me count to 10, and then it'll be stuck for good. So I'm not counting, but I'm going to guess. And I'm going to do the same on this one, just little dots of my wet adhesive, as I usually do. And release that down, going the other way. So I want to make sure that we can see some of it sticking out. So I'm going to go pretty much like that. You can see I'm using my samples because the first time I did this, I will say, I moved these leaves several different times, and I finally got it to where I liked it, so I wanted to make sure I am putting it in that same place. So you can see we've got it down there, and see how it's just very subtle. It shows up subtly, and it'll be in the background. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on my card front now that I have it. I could have done that before I did my started gluing, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and do that now. And you can see we just have that little border. The card that I saw, and I'm sorry I don't have the name. I keep doing that. I do write it down. They had done the card in crumb cake, and that was very pretty. But all my cards, I have a lot of brown cards in my classes this month. For whatever reason, brown was speaking to me, and I decided to go with gray. Okay, so now that we have that, we're going to go ahead and stamp our, where did it go? We're going to stamp our image, put this away, on a piece of basic white, and bigger than what I will need, but we're going to take the large stamp that becomes our focal point, and we're going to flip it over. And because it's a bigger stamp, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, I probably have, but whenever the stamp is bigger than the ink pad, it's easiest and you get the best coverage if you flip it over and you ink it up this way. All right, and what's nice is that the pad is raised. Kind of see, the pad is raised so you're not scraping any ink off. And I've got it nice and juicy on here. You can even see how good that looks. And we're going to just stamp it on here. Now, if I was thinking I could have done it more in the corner and gotten the second one on this page. You can see how pretty that looks when you have it. And then we've got the die that will cut that out, and it fits perfectly around the outside. Makes it so easy to cut out and make it really stand out on our page. So through the magic of television, I've gone ahead and done that, and now we're going to color it in. So we're going to use two colors of our Stampin' Blends. Another thing to note is that our Stampin' Blends are going to be the only markers that we have anymore. We will not have our water-based markers. We're just going to be having our alcohol markers. They have really overtaken what people are looking for in terms of markers because they color so beautifully. And I am all for the fact that we will not be having the regular markers anymore, even though they were a staple in my collection for all time. I've always had markers. But this is a Stampin' Blend marker. This is the dark petal pink, and this is the light petal pink. And so I'm going to use the light petal pink. And normally I like to use the bullet point, but because this flower is so big, I'm going to go ahead and use the brush tip. And you notice I'm tipping it to the side, and I'm not pressing. This is really important if you're using Stampin' Blends, because if you press, it doesn't do anything other than ruin your marker. So there's no benefit to doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and do all the whole flower light. You can see there's another flower over here. I wasn't thinking. And get that colored in. And then I'm going to come back in with my dark marker And for this one, I'll also use the brush tip just because I'm going to go around wherever there is the black ink and just sort of go along the sides, and it just helps highlight, and I'll pick it up in 1 second so that you can see. It's very subtle. Again, a lot of subtleties on this card, but we can see that it just gives a little bit of differential. So it's not quite a flat looking color. And then we're going to do the same thing with all the leaves. And this is soft seafoam. Again, I am going to use my, oops, do I have the right one here? Yes, this is the light. And I always like to do the light first to color in the whole base and then come back in with the dark on wherever there are black lines. Again, because that's where the image was designed to show some shadowing. And that's what it's for. And then if you want to, you can always come back in. For example, if the dark is really dark and it shows a sharp looking line, you can always go back in with the light over it, and then it will blend the dark into the light. And that is how, when I originally learned how to use alcohol markers before we carried them, that is how we were taught to do it. You do light, then dark, then light again. But I just do the light and then the dark. I don't find it's necessary most of the time to come back in. So you can see I'm just going to go over, and you can really see the color differential with the green more so than with the pink. So I'm just going over the lines, and that adds a little bit of depth to the coloring. And let's take a look. So here we go. So you can see, you can kind of see the lines, but because they're Stampin' Blends, they blend in. Hi, Carol. Thanks for joining. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. And then we're going to go ahead and put this onto the card. And we're going to use dimensionals for that. Of course, we have to use our dimensionals so that it pops up. And here we go. Get that on here. And so let's see, we're going to put it on this little angle and put it into the corner, and now you've got your subtle background peeking out, and it's thanks for being you, and makes a perfect thank you card for any occasion. And of course, finally, we have to have a little bling on here somehow. These are the Charming Shimmer Faceted Dots, and they come in 3 colors, and they coordinate with the Designer Series paper that goes with the Charming Day bundle. I'm sorry, the suite. Now I'm drawing a blank on the name of the suite, but it has Charming in the name, I believe, and they are some of the same colors. We've used them before, and we're going to put, let's see, we're going to put two small ones. So I'm going to put one there, one here, and then I'm going to put a big one over here, because that's what I did on my sample. I might have done things a little differently if I thought about it, but look how they shimmer here. I can show you them on here. See how they shimmer? And these now come, we have these in the purple shimmer, and I think there are some other colors. I'm not sure which ones have retired and which ones haven't, but they're really nice, and they're very thin. So even though they add a little bit of bulk to the card, it's a lot less than a lot of our other pearls and things like that. So there we go. We've got our card, and that is our card for today. So thank you for joining me. I'm glad to see you on here. And if you have any questions, you can let me know. And all the dimensions and supplies for this card will be in the description of this video. So I hope you take a chance and make one like it. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you so much for joining. Bye-bye.